Bonjour tout le monde. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the English version. Hi everybody. Hi. My name is Emilie and I am a knitter, a test knitter, or just a knitter. I knit anything and everything. I do enjoy doing test knits though, so this is why I've picked or decided to share all of that with you, because this is something I really do enjoy to do, so I wanted to share that passion with all of you guys. You can find me on all the platforms that are knitting related. So I am on Instagram, I'm on Ravelry, and YouTube as Emiliecott, Emiliecott, all together. So you can come talk to me. You can say hi, write a comment, ask me questions, anything you want to hear about me. Don't hesitate to ask, either in the comment section or through private messaging. I'm open to anything. If you want to chat with me, please go ahead, or have questions on any of my knits that I don't answer during the podcast. Ask away, and I will try and answer that either privately or a future podcast. Who knows? So, welcome back on my creative space on the internet. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the Kigi sweater. The Kigi sweater is a design by Yamagara. Yamagara, I'm going to write her name. Dear Bernice has a beautiful sweater coming up this week, and I wanted to introduce this sweater to you guys today. It's a beautiful sweater knitted top down, as you can see, as it's not completely finished yet. Top down, and it's got a beautiful lace detail. I fell in love with it, which is why I picked to test knit it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is a bit out of my wheelhouse, actually. It's not something I usually do. I think my friends, a couple of them mentioned, this is different for you. So yeah, for a couple reasons. I'm normally the yarn that I'll knit will be the sample will be around 20 stitches per 10 centimeter or 4 inches, which is a DK type yarn, or even go to worsted, and I'm comfortable knitting that, and I love the wear and feel of those sweaters. So for me to go down to fingering weight yarn is rare, but not as usual. So there's that, and lace sweaters, which I have now knitted a couple of them in a row. So I did the Gemma sweater the last podcast, and this is about the Kigi sweater. Again, a lace detail, but it's not usual for me. So this is a bit out of my comfort zone, like I said, but we are here to challenge ourselves. We're here to try different fashion items on ourselves and try different things and see what we like to wear. And I think it's important to keep trying new things and keep evolving in our craft. And I highly encourage you to do so as well. This is why I went ahead with this sweater. Now, we're going to start talking about it. And first is the sample, or the choice of yarn that I picked. I'm sorry, I've been a bit sick lately, so if I cough a bit, I'll remove the sound and try and be as flawless or seamless as possible for you guys. But I really wanted to get this video out before the pattern comes out, or just as the pattern comes out for you. So that means showing a bit when I'm sick, and if it shows or is not as pleasant, I do apologize for that. Now, choice of yarn. First sample that I've done was with Ghost by Holzgarn, which is a very affordable yarn. If you don't know it, it's a really nice soft yarn. It's 50% cotton, 50% wool, and it drapes beautifully. I have used this yarn a lot. I think I've got 4 or 5 sweaters in this yarn, because I find it comfortable, and I find that it breathes well, and the cotton makes it not cooler, not as warm as a full wool sweater. I enjoy this yarn a lot, and we'll knit more out of it for sure. And so my sample used 1 strand of the knitting Holzgarn Coast with 1 strand of Knitting for Olive silk mohair. A beautiful shades mixed together. So I think this is dust pink or something similar to that, and cocoa in the Coast. The mix was absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So expect to see a sweater made out of this combination eventually in the future. Tried to photograph it, but it didn't quite pull it didn't work. You won't be able to see the beautiful color in this. The pink gets lost, I think, on the video, whereas you have a beautiful shade of fuzzy pink coming out of the sample if you look at it live or in person. So this gets lost, but it's absolutely gorgeous. You can trust me on that. Why did I not pick this yarn knowing that I got gauge and knowing that it was gorgeous? The reason is the cotton. Now I have a really large section up the top that has the lace detail, so I'll want structure in that section. I need it to pull back and bounce back to its form as much as possible and not relax too much so that it falls off of me. So we really want that structure up the top. And I was afraid that with the cotton, it was going to relax too much, because cotton does that, and not bounce back as much as I needed it to. So after careful consideration, this didn't work out, but expect to see it in the future, as I really like that combination. That brings me to my second yarn, which is Emiliecott Lamb's Wool. Emiliecott Lamb's Wool is a beautiful, I find it soft, so from a scale of 1 to 10 in the not soft department, I would say it's a 5. So in between there, it's not fully soft like a merino, but it is definitely not as ruggy or as harsh, or harsh is harsh term. But yeah, it doesn't scratch me as much as I would say like some other types of fiber. It is definitely in between. For me, it has absolutely no scratch factor. For other people, it will. This is, as always, a personal choice. I invite you to try it first and see what you feel like. But I find it absolutely gorgeous. I love it. This lamb's wool. It's a Danish lamb's wool. Unfortunately, Emiliecott does not produce anymore her yarn. It's a shame, because I really loved it and I have so much of it. And you know, customer service was great. I really, really did enjoy that yarn. She still does design though, which is great, but the yarn part is gone away, and I'm sad about that. And you'll see this yarn again, although I think she collaborated with Yamagara yarn, Yamagara, Isager yarn, to continue producing her fiber as well as her colors. So I do invite you to go and check Yamagara out if that's a fiber you want to try out, because it's there. I've seen it. So it's a Danish lamb's wool section. You may not get that exact same fiber where it's 400 meters per 100 grams with that weight yarn. I think it's got a 600 meter 400 grams and another one for this fiber. So you may just need to hold it double and get your same gauge there. So it is available. I checked. I would be able to buy it and still do the same, as well as the colors if transferred. So go and have a look. If that's what interests you, it's now an Yamagara yarn. And the color I picked here is Duck Egg. It's beautiful, like shade of, it's a greeny blue, more on the, maybe a bit more on the green blue, I don't know, green side, with dark heather throughout. Now, I got gauge and I got a beautiful fabric for my sample with this, but I would say that it's a very light yarn compared to what the designer used, which scares me a little bit for blocking, and we'll see the results together after I've blocked it. But for now, it's a very lightweight yarn compared to what the designer used, and it shows it's a bit more light in the fabric, what I've got here, but it's looking beautiful, and I've tried it out and I'm really happy with it. But it's definitely more light at 450 meters per 100 gram, whereas the designer used a fiber merino, I think it's merino, it's a hand-dyed merino nylon fingering yarn, and I think it's 300 meters per 100 grams. There's a huge discrepancy in between what I've used in weight and what she has used in weight, and it does show it's much lighter, but that's what I was going for, and hopefully it turns out as my vision, well, was imagining it. Hopefully it's going to work out. But my sample was great and it was working out. I used 3mm needles as the main needles, very, very small, as I'm a loose knitter. I'm going to say it again, I'm a loose knitter. So the pattern calls for slightly bigger needles than that 3mm needle, obviously. So got sample, got gauge, all happy, we can start knitting. And I started with the color, and that first row is where I've done one modification there. It's the only one I've done so far, but I'll describe why. I have kids. I have kids, and I have a son that loves to pull at my sweater. And accidents have happened in the past where my sweater got pulled way too low. So I've learned to put structure up the top for my sweater, especially with my son being around. I need there to be a structure and it holds in place. That's a need that I have. And there's many different things. It's very important. It's handmade, so we get a chance to tailor or custom our sweaters to fit exactly what we want or what we need. So in my case, I won't be knitting very light colors because I know my son's gonna put that spaghetti sauce and then chocolatey fingers all over my sweaters. And a light color sweater just will, I'll wear it once, maybe twice before it's ruined. And all of that work to be ruined in a couple hours, I mean, it's not worth it. So we all knit just, according to what we need, our family situation, um, and all of that. So this is why I've adjusted the top, and I've basically, what I've done is used one complete needle size down. So I'm at 2.5 millimeter for the cast on, which is very small needles, to get a solid rough cast on. And I can do this because we've got button buttonholes. So even if this is very structured and more rough or not as stretchy, I can still unbutton the buttons, put it on, button the buttons again. So I've got that extra fabric that I can move around, and I can make this color more stable. So this is what I've done by using 2.5 millimeter needles and skipping one row. I skipped row one. Now I don't want to give too much into the pattern, which is why I'm not going to give any details as to what that row is, but I skipped row one and that gives me more structure. Um, just if you buy the pattern, execute it. You just have a look at my Ravelry page. It's clear what I've done. And you may understand better when you see the pattern and why I've decided to opt out of that one row. Yeah, and so this is the only modification I have made to the pattern, and it is to suit my family situation. It does absolutely not change the look of the sweater. I don't think anybody would notice at all. It really is not. I didn't change anything that would change the look of it at all. It really is only just that additional structure up the top. So nobody would know that I've done this. But it's a bit of a trick if you want to copy or if that's something that you need as well, for that structure on the top. And then I switched to the main needles. I knit the yoke. First, we start flat because of that button band, and I have to say, Yamagara Bernice is a genius. So it's all knitted as you go, and I don't have to pick up stitches later. I don't have to do anything later. It's all done already. All I need to do is add the buttons, which is very simple, and I love, I love that about the pattern. So simple. We start flat. It does require you to knit a chart there and back up. So you knit the chart, um, you knit the chart going in the right direction as you would normally for the right side, but on the wrong side you knit the chart the other way around, and you reverse the stitches. So when it's indicated a purl, then you need to knit a knit and stuff like that. But this is all things. Do look out for tutorials online. There are plenty that explain how to knit a chart in either direction. So if this is not something you're comfortable with, there are resources out there to help you, in that regard. So go have a look, go explore, and definitely try something new. Push yourself, try something new. I will say it very often, but we are here to experiment. We're here to have fun with our craft and to push ourselves. I know you may feel comfortable in a certain, knitting certain things, and look at, say, this video and say, oh, I wish I could knit something like this. Well, you can. I know you can. And just try. Just give yourself that little push that you need, um, to go and do it, because it is worth it. And it may not be perfect the first time, but who cares? It's okay. You can either pull on that yarn and undo and frog a little bit if you're not satisfied, or you know what? It's not perfect, but I'm so proud of it and I'm still wearing it. I have lots of sweaters like this when I started out, so just push yourself. It's worth it, and it's fun to experiment new things. And this sweater, as I mentioned earlier, definitely is pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So yeah, and I don't regret it one bit, even though I made a mistake. Um, I did. I'm gonna admit to making mistakes in the chart. I noticed after I done it. Um, oh, hope that didn't. So I made a mistake in the chart. You have a beautiful cable, and then here I made a second beautiful cable, but it was supposed to be a wrap stitch, and you can see that very well if you compare mine with the designer sweater. You will see that the wrap stitch is missing on mine, but you know what? I still like it like this, and this is a good example of I might have made a mistake, but I'm still gonna go for it. Oh no, my tribe is coming in, so I'm gonna have to cut this off and continue later. So I'll speak to you later. My kids are coming in, all three of them, and they're, you know, I'm gonna try and film again later today. Ciao. Hi again. Sorry for the disruption, and it's gonna happen again as my dad is expected to come in at any minute now to help with the house. But I'm gonna try and do as much as I can, and you know what? It'll happen. Life happens, and you film when you can, and you film when you're available, and that's okay. I'm sure you guys understand your end of the camera as well. So, as I was saying, we're all human. We make mistakes and we embrace those mistakes or we don't. And depending, for example, this one, if, as I said, I've got a couple of cables as opposed to a wrap stitch, I could opt to repair that with a thread afterwards and wrap that stitch or that cable and it wouldn't show. Or, you know what? I like it as it is and it may not be exactly the same, but it's beautiful. And I think I'm going to embrace that mistake as a mistake and move forward with it and leave it there. Now, for the button band, two options. For some, it'll be that you want a high contrast button band because that design is unique. You don't normally have a sweater with a button band. I mean, it's not what you see the most. So this is a unique to this sweater part of the design. So you could either opt to highlight that by putting a high contrast button to your button band and really bring that out. Or if you're like me and you really do love that detail on that lace, then you want the buttons to be very inconspicuous. Apologies if I killed that word. But yeah, you don't want them to show too much because what you want is to highlight the lace. So either you're one or the other, you will find buttons that fit what you want to highlight. In my case, I found Bergère de France buttons. Simple, rustic, gray, heather look to them. Very cute. Just very simple buttons. And the goal being, again, that what's highlighted is that beautiful lace up the top because I want that to shine. And I do want people to be able to see that there's a button band because this is unique, but I really want the lace to shine. So I picked some more quiet buttons to fit with my sweater, and I love that. Can't wait to put them on. What else can I say about that yoke? It's got bubbles. Bubbles make me smile. They're not too big because it's fingering weight, and they don't show too much. There's just enough that there are bubbles there. There's only 6 per repetition, so it's really a hint of bubbles. Very quick to make because there aren't that many, and they're fun, and I love everything about them. So I'm really happy with my sweater, as you can tell. Yeah, and you continue that yoke at some point after a couple of rows. You join, and then you continue that chart in the round. And continue in the round up until the chart is finished. Some more rows until sleeve separation, and then we continue on with the body. As I said, no modification apart from the collar, first row, and the mistake, unintentional mod. And also, I've modified the body length. I need 4 inches more for my size than what the pattern calls for. Now, always careful consideration when you lengthen the body. First thing you need to do before you buy the yarn is look at that pattern and say, well, if the designer recommends that amount of yarn with that length of a sweater, and I need an extra 4 inches, I do need to consider that extra 4 inches when I get the yarn. So you need to account for that modification before you buy the yarn to be sure you have enough to complete the body or sleeve um, to the desired length that you're looking for. So just be mindful by adding 4 inches. That's a lot of yarn, and you need to be sure you account for that. Uh, you know, when you pick your yarn. Now, in this case, I already had the yarn, and as a test knitter, I have a pretty sizable stash, and a reason being that I need the yarn to be easily accessible. I need it to be there because I usually have 3 or 4 weeks to knit a sweater once the design once the design is given to me by the designer. I've only got that 3 maybe 4 weeks to complete it. I don't have time to wait on deliveries for yarn, or maybe go shopping at my local yarn store. Sometimes it really needs to be that quick that when I'm applying on a test, I need to know which yarn I'm already using. In this case, finding this one was a bit hard because I didn't have anything that fit the same yarn as the designer. It's a bit plumpy, not more plump than a regular merino fingering yarn. It's more of a sport weight yarn, and I didn't have anything like that. So, um, but yeah, basically, I had 3 of these, and I've calculated before I started to make sure I would account for that extra 4 inches in the body. So all this to say, always make sure, even if you're using stash or you buy your wool, that you account for all the yarn that you will need knitting. So this is always something I do when before I start knitting or before I choose a yarn, is to check, is there any modification I'm going to do just to accommodate for my body. Um, I have longer torso and longer arms than most, usually 2 inches. I mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it over and over again. Yeah, and it's a size 3. I didn't say that, but I'm knitting size 3 for this sweater. Right. Um, couple things upcoming. So what's left to do is the sleeves. Now, that deadline, oh my god. I've only got 6 days left. 6 days. And that within those 6 days, I need to knit 2 sleeves, finish the body off because I need to hem and to cast off the body. It's not done yet. I need to finish 2 sleeves, which is a lot of work. I need to put the buttons on. I need to block for the sweater to dry overnight. And I need a model to take the finished pictures because it's coming out in 6 days. It is a lot. I may not be able to do it, but you know what? I'm going to try my hardest and my damnest to get it done, because when I take up, a challenge, or when I do decide to do a test knit, this is something I want to be able to do, is finish on time. And I'm rarely pressed for time like this, but in this case, life happened. I got sick, and you get sick a couple weeks out of a short test knit time frame. Well, things happen, and that's okay because it happens, but it doesn't happen that often. And I'm really proud to have done as much as I have done, considering the fact that I was sick. So I'm going to do the best I can. And I see this as a challenge and I take it with a smile, but I really do want to finish in time for that release day. Bernice deserves it. That pattern is beautiful, and she deserves for me to finish, make sure that everything's done. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Yeah. So far, real happy. The sleeve, what may save me is, as you can see, I'm wearing right now is my ranunculus. This pattern needs no introduction. Everybody's done it 1,000 times. Most people have it a few copies in their wardrobes already. I have 4 copies, I believe. Maybe less, maybe more. I've given a few away too, so I don't know. But this is my silk version of it. So it's the silk airy that I wear in spring, summer, fall for the main part. Very airy, silky, flowy version that I love. I think it's one of my favorites actually in my wardrobe to wear. And all this to say, I'm coming rounding back to this sweater, is it's got 3/4 sleeves, and this is something I love. I will knit most of my sweaters 3/4 because I don't like always be pulling at the sleeves. I don't like sleeves on my forearms, so I'm always pulling them up. So might as well just adjust it right away and fit my body, fit my needs right away as I'm knitting it. So for the most part, and as you'll see if you go through my Ravelry page, most of my sweaters are 3/4 sleeve length. So this might just save me a bit of time for knitting, as I may have 4 days and then 2 days to block and take photos. So I might just make it, if those sleeves are 3/4. Anyway, I know you're rooting for me. I'm rooting for myself. I'm gonna make it happen. I know I will. And then once it's blocked, I'm hoping that yarn will bloom. I've seen Ravelry pages of this yarn saying it felts just a little bit felted, which makes the the fabric sort of expand, and there's no holes anymore, because right now it's holy. You probably won't be able to tell from this side, but from my side, as I've got the window in behind, I see tiny holes here and there, just in between stitches. So this should just, you know, close as it blooms after the blocking. So this is something to look out for on my next video once I've been blocked. I'm hoping to show you the effect after the fact. Am I forgetting something? I don't think so. No, I think I've said pretty much all of it. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate. And I'll see you again once this is blocked. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So we're now very late at night. Well, it's past 9 o'clock, anyways. And yeah, I just wanted to show you the good news. Previous video you saw was this morning, so same day, just later. And I've nearly got a sleeve finished and body, so it's looking good. And let me just be able to finish all of it. Yes. Hi everyone, I just thought I would share with you how I like to do my twisted ribbing bind off as a method that is quite fast, and I do like the finished look of it and how neat it is. It doesn't flare out or anything like that. So yeah, this is my favorite method. And I thought I would share it with you. I use a combination of two different methods. The traditional method, which is you knit the knits, pass the yarn over, purl the purl, and then pass the yarn over. But I also use Lori's twisty bind off, where you twist around or turn around your crochet hook to give it more yarn, or to give a twist to the yarn, to the stitch, before knitting the knits or purling the purls. And then pass the yarn over. For the knit stitches, I use the traditional method, and for the purl stitches, I use Lori's twisty bind off. So I'm going to show you a couple of stitches here. Now I'm at the purl stitch, so I use Lori's twisty bind off. As you can see, I rotate my crochet hook anti-clockwise or counterclockwise before I purl the stitch. Take it off my needle and pass it through. And then when it comes to doing the knit stitch, I simply knit through the back loop because it's a twisted rib, pull off and pass the yarn over. Now I'm back to a purl, so I turn my crochet hook counterclockwise before purling the stitch and passing it through. And then this is the knit stitch, but I want to knit through the back loop. As you can see, a crochet hook has a very rounded head, and it's harder to get in or straight into that back leg of the loop, which is why you see me go through first the front leg and then pivot to the back leg. Just a bit of a trick there if you struggle getting in. As you can see, through the front leg and pivot to the back, and then do a knitted through the back loop, knit, pass over, turn counterclockwise, purl, and pass over. So this is how I like to do my ribbings. And as you can see for the finished product, I'm going to show that. You can see it's very elastic because of all that yarn. When you twisted the hook counterclockwise, you add some of the yarn, so it adds that elasticity without flaring open, and it stays like this even after blocking. It's really solid look, yet elastic. And I like the finished product because you do see that twisted stitch as well on the knit side through the binding. So there it is. I'm just waiting for the camera to stabilize a bit because it's still moving a little bit. Hopefully you're not seasick from it. Um, and you don't mind my dancing. So here it is, my finished Kigi pullover. Beautiful design by Yamagara, Bernice. If you want to look out, she has made kits with handmade buttons by her. Now this is a treat. So if you really want to, I mean, a beautiful kit with handmade buttons from the designer, it is gorgeous. Bernice has all of the talents in the world. I invite you to go to her Instagram. Is Yamagara. Go check her post about the Kiji sweater. You will see the links to the distributors. It is beautiful, and she has the most amazing buttons that go with her kit. Go check that out. Now, this is my version. I'm really happy with it. As you can tell, the fit is amazing. I have a different fit, and I'm going to show you two different fits for this sweater. I normally would wear a size 4. For this sweater, I upped it down for us to size down because I really wanted an adjusted sweater, no ease, or basically practically no ease whatsoever. And this is what I have, and I love the fit. And I'm telling you, I'm showing you two different fits. Apologies for that. Two different fits because I have photos of my sister wearing the same sweater, but my sister is normally a size 2 or 1 or 2, and she is wearing a size 3 on the photo. So you can see a bigger ease by looking at my sister's photos. As well, I've been telling you I have a long torso, and you will tell the difference. For me, the sweater ends just above my butt. Whereas when my sister wears the same sweater, she has it covering her entire bum actually. So we have different fits. This is why we knit our own garments so that it fits us. I normally have issues finding sweaters that are long enough for me. I love that I customize my own. And this design or this sweater here is perfect fit for me. I am in love with it. You can wear it differently. Button bands on attached like this, because I've shown you photos. My sister has it wearing with the button band closed, so I thought I would show you what it is like with it open. And the fit is really great. And I'm owning my mistake that I've shown earlier with that cable instead of the wrap stitch. It's a mistake, but it ends up being beautiful too. And I embrace the fact that sometimes we do make mistakes, and yeah, this is one of them. And I'm going to keep it this way. There we go. So here it is, the finished object, and I'm really happy with it. Thanks for joining me again on this adventure or this journal of my knitting test knits. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate. You can communicate with me, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Or actually, I'm at this point where now I'm going to send application to different tests for different tests that are going up live as we speak, because I need my next project. What is it going to be? So this is where I'm at now, and once I know, you will know too. See you soon.